Hello. Late July 2022, still on Mother Earth, still watching the planets appear to travel around us. Uranus is in Taurus still. It's been there for 4.5 years, slowly traveling through Taurus. Mars will join Taurus in a conjunction on August 1st and August 2nd in a matter of days. Quite an explosive energy. Hopefully no big earthquakes or no big explosions, but the potential is strong for those things when these two come together like that. Of course, Mars won't stay there long, it'll continue onward. Pluto's shift from Capricorn into Aquarius. This is what I wanted to talk about. Pluto is all about death, destruction, war. It destroys structures. But then the other part of Pluto is the rebuilding. Pluto symbolizes death and then out of the ashes, rebirth. So it breaks down structures. And while it's been traveling through Capricorn since 2008, we've seen a slow breakdown of our collective systems and structures, health system, educational system, the food supply system, all of our collective systems. The political systems, the justice systems, very backed up and very much confusion in all of these systems. They're old and they're breaking down, and Pluto's job is to break them down. And that's part of this phase we've been in. And it's become very, very intense, especially since Mars and Pluto were conjunct in Capricorn in January of 2020, when the pandemic hit. Boom. So this Pluto in Capricorn, knocking things down, continues, but we're soon getting to that shift. We start into the rebuilding phase, the rejuvenation phase, and this will be a relief to see. 2023 is when Pluto slowly starts to make its entry into Aquarius. And this is when we'll see the shift from breakdown and war and destruction in all of our systems that's been going on now into a rebuilding phase where we'll see biodegradable packaging and not plastic, where we will see new, revised, and rebuilt health systems. All of our collective systems will be revised and rebuilt. This is part of the Pluto transiting into Aquarius. This is part of that transitional shifting and changing. The changes that Pluto pushes into society and into our individual lives is inevitable evolutionary change. And so as Pluto carries through Capricorn still this winter, that could be a rough winter, especially with Mars retrograde, and it will be as of October. Nonetheless, we can see the light in the future, the light at the end of the tunnel, as it were, because we can see the phase of Pluto's energies where we see the rebuilding going on instead of the breakdown. The oil-based society, no matter how much effort is put into keeping it alive, it is slowly breaking down. Now, Pluto's only in Aquarius those 2 months next year, and then it enters in March, and then in May, retrogrades back into Capricorn. So that destruction, that breaking down of our systems, the wars, the focus on power and control, this will continue. But then we'll start to see this rebuilding and this rejuvenation phase start. And not just in the collective, in the larger world, but in our individual lives. Because Pluto has been transiting somewhere in your chart. Now, where do you have Capricorn? That's where Pluto's been traveling. Do you have Capricorn in the 8th house? If you have your chart, you can look and see. Has Pluto been transiting through your 7th house? It certainly has been there a few years, or it will be there a few years. It's such a slow-moving planet. So Pluto's going to bring deep and complete transformative change into your life, into the area, the things of the house it's transiting through. Now, if Pluto's transiting through your first house, if this is where the big shift from Capricorn to Aquarius is going to take place in your chart, then your outer personality is going through a reshaping, a restructuring, and control issues will be playing a part of this. If Pluto has entered your first house, often we see someone in the family dying, passing away, and the control is passed on to you. Or the urge to take charge and take control is very strong when Pluto's in that first house. If Pluto is transiting through your second house, it's affecting your finances. It's affecting your sense of values and your income. The whole financial picture is slowly being transformed. Now, this transformative change that's going on in one house or another in everyone's chart, Pluto's energy manifests quite often as death of someone that then pushes the individual or the whatever you're studying, a business, whatever, pushes the entity towards taking control, and a new beginning, a new phase starts through someone's death. That's very possible. When Pluto is transiting through your fourth house, it could be a parent. Certainly a huge shift in how one interacts with parents is going to take place when Pluto is transiting with the fourth house in one's chart. So if that's where you have Capricorn moving into Aquarius next year and the following year, the full entry of Pluto into Aquarius is not until 2024. But it enters next year just for 2 months. Big changes. Now, ego clashes and control issues and ego struggles with another person over the idea of a potential big change in life. That's another way that Pluto energies often manifest. For example, when Pluto is transiting through a person's seventh house, the house of partnerships and mates and interpersonal relationships, power struggle and who is in control in the relationships, in the partnerships, tend to become an issue. When Pluto is transiting through your sixth house, and if this big change from Capricorn to Aquarius takes place there, that's going to affect your health or your work. You either get a promotion and you are in charge and in control of the work environment after this big change with Pluto, or it affects you physically in your health. And sometimes we'll see things like an artificial limb when Pluto transits through someone's sixth house. It's a breakdown and then a rebuilding, a rejuvenation. Always connected to control issues, always connected to life and death issues. So where is transiting Saturn? Well, for the world, it's at 27 degrees of Capricorn right now, so that's where it is in your chart. And all this energy that's going to be shifting and showing up as this these changes can be very much inward or manifest externally in the material world. Now, Pluto's power, its control. So this is really showing up in the world in terms of who's in control and what leadership are we seeing in the different countries. People in power, big changes taking place, losing their power, gaining power, big focus on who's the leader, who's in control, and what on earth are they up to. Now, Pluto, that planet of power, going from Capricorn, practical, traditional, sensible, conservative energy, and that's where it's been for a very long time, shifting into Aquarius, which is eccentric and freedom-oriented and concerned with the masses and just totally, totally different energy than Capricorn. The shift is showing up in the leaders' lives. If we look at the leader of the United Kingdom, he just resigned. We look at the leader of Japan. He was just assassinated. We look at the leader of Italy. He just resigned. They don't want to let him resign, but he's trying. Putin's definitely off on a tangent and acting in a very peculiar way. When we look at the United States, we see Joe Biden in power, elderly man, health issues, precarious, one would assume. Next February, Saturn is going to square the Sun for Joe Biden. Not a good time for him. And of course, there's Donald Trump, lurking there in the background, ready to jump in. Eccentricity indeed. Aquarian energy indeed. Hard to imagine where it's all going to go, but certainly we'll be looking at a new way of dealing with things and potentially a better approach to things evolving out of 2023, 24, 25, when we get into that phase of rejuvenation and rebuilding that is part of the Pluto energy. In the meantime, we observe it, all of our systems and structures eroding. Take care.